Welcome, everybody, and this is the regular meeting of the Housing Committee for September 4th, 2025. I'm Kathy Hunter, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. And tonight, we're joined by committee members Warner Marshall, Elaine Feldman, Chris Dickerson, Jim Graham, and Lou Schaefer. And we also have Mary Dean on the phone. So that is Mary over here. And so we do have a quorum. So with that, the first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes for August 6, 2025. And I know Mary did note there was a
There's
typo.
one typo.
Yeah, there
Yep,
was one typo.
that I caught as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And I also want to point out that it's usual for the person who wrote the minutes to sign them. Just submit them and sign it.
Okay, submitted by Chris Dickerson.
So I should sign the minutes? Okay, once they're approved?
Credit where it's due, Chris. Nice
Yeah.
job.
Once they're approved? Okay,
Yeah, she did a very nice job, and we appreciate
no problem.
you, Chris, doing this. Okay, so there was a correction that's where Chris commented that there should not be, it should be
Should
data.
be data versus date.
So with that correction, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, so we have Elaine approved and Jim second. All right, that, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so next on the agenda is public comment. I think I see a couple folks here for public comment, so I'd like to open that up. I just want to,
There's no pen. Gee.
oh, dang it, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Turn this bell off.
Good evening. My name's Kathy Wick. I live on Rimmen Road. So I'm going to start tonight with a little quiz. Don't worry, the questions aren't hard. Are any of you familiar with Lascana Homes? Chris, heard of it? Lascana Homes? Nobody else has heard of Lascana Homes in Orange?
Well, we're not, Kathy, we don't, we're going to listen to your public comment, and we don't respond to your public comment.
Okay.
But
It's
obviously, everybody here is very familiar with Lascana Homes, and I am very familiar with that development. so-
Okay, good.
I'm not, by the way, I'm not very familiar with it.
Well, I doubt most of the people watching on the video are familiar with it. So I'll explain it for them. Lascana Homes is a brand new, very attractive, 100% affordable development in Orange. Its 46 units are located one block off the Post Road on a 4.2 acre parcel. It was built by a private developer on privately owned land. In Orange, multifamily housing is not allowed to exceed 2.5 stories in a residential area. Individual developments in Orange that are affordable housing developments are capped at, multifamily developments rather, are capped at 5 acres and 50 units, so no more than 10 units per acre. They're also severely restricted in location, only allowed on a couple of specific streets adjacent to the Post Road. Have you all visited Lascana Homes? Because I have. I took this picture. It's very attractive. It looks like a large colonial home, essentially. This location makes a lot of sense, since residents can walk to the bank, the post office, the pharmacy, the food market, and the bus stop. The buildings are similar in style to neighboring single-family homes, which are set close together on small lots. Compare this to Woodbridge's zoning restrictions, where buildings in the most rural residential zones can be 4 stories, but oddly in our commercial zone, they're limited to 2.5 stories. In Woodbridge, density can be as high as 18 units per acre, and there is no cap on project size or acreage. So Orange has much more restrictive zoning, but has actually achieved 7% affordable housing and a 4-year moratorium on 830G applications. What does Woodbridge have? ridiculously loose zoning, and absolutely no progress on increasing housing opportunity in the town. I think you all might recognize this. This is the proposed Fountain Street apartment building. Some people are referring to it as Fountain Street Penitentiary because it does look rather prison-like. It's as long as a football field. It would fill the Yale Bowl. When I look at these two pictures, one of Lascana in orange and one of the Fountain Street Penitentiary, what comes to mind is that silly song from Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Which one of these things just doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood of a small town? I would say it's this one. The Lascana approach is exactly what all of the experts you folks have brought into town would agree is the type of development that makes sense for Woodbridge. Its existence in our neighboring town proves that it is possible. Yet, what are you doing? You're ignoring your own experts and going about this process exactly backward, sitting silently by while a predatory developer rewrote the town's zoning regulations to suit him, not to suit our town. Here's another quiz question. Have any of you read the affordability plan for the 804 Fountain Street project? Anyone? Have you read it? No? I encourage you to read it because when you do, you will learn that the Fountain Street building will only have between 0 and 12 affordable units of the total 96. As explained by the developer's attorney at the first public hearing on the project, if tenants in an affordable unit get a raise or a new job and no longer qualify for legally affordable housing, they don't have to move out. So it is entirely possible that this building will have absolutely no tenants who qualify for affordable housing in it. I've checked with other towns and learned that this is not how affordability plans are supposed to work. Don't you think it would be an appropriate role for this housing committee to evaluate the affordability plan of a potential development and give recommendations to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission? I do. I think that would be a very appropriate role for this housing committee. So my final quiz question tonight is, why aren't you doing that?
My name is Joyce Simpson. I live at 5 Oak Hill Lane, and I do not have any quiz questions for you. Have a few comments, though.
Okay.
And I don't have it written out. Should I provide that to somebody? My question?
We'll summarize
You
your
can summarize
comments,
it.
yeah.
Okay, because I'd do it whichever way
What's
you
that?
prefer.
Well, Mary, I mean, she could hear, or this is also
Okay.
being taped, so.
Okay. So I have several comments, if you give me time to
Sure.
to speak. I've been at meetings most nights this week. There's been like one a night since they gave us a break on Labor Day, but since then, spending my evenings here. I did hear last evening about a housing plan that went to Mika, and I wondered if that eventually would be incorporated into the POCD. Do you know if that's possible?
Well, again, we're not.
Yeah, I know
when
you don't
people
have.
do public
I would like
comments,
it to.
um,
I would like to see it included in the POCD.
Yeah, I
if-
mean, I
if you
could,
have
I
plans.
I will respond to that.
Okay.
Yes, it's not gonna be incorporated in terms of, we're not gonna put the affordable housing plan onto the plan of conservation development, but it's certainly, incorporated in terms of the language in the POCD, and it's summarized in the POCD. But the actual plan is not attached to the POCD.
Okay, that was my question,
Yeah.
really. Because it's, a formal plan development is often quite different than the bullet,
Yeah.
So that's the way it's going to be. I'm quite unhappy, as most people are, about the Fountain Street, 804 Fountain Street plan. And I would like to ask if it's possible for this committee to get, to provide a little more creativity as far as looking at fulfilling the affordability requirements that we don't meet at this point. And I personally and a few friends would like a little bit more information or an educational session sometime in the future regarding ADUs, small homes, ADUs on existing homes, small houses on small parcels, apartments in the business district, etc., as opposed to one mighty big, ugly building. I think scattered housing would be preferable. Sometimes people have a car, sometimes they don't. They need to be near transport. But I just think there's a lot of spots down on the flats, small triangular shaped areas that could, I believe, could be used very nicely to provide affordable housing and scatter it around. And the last thing, so I would like to attend a meeting, if you ever come to that place, to educate the public on how to go about even thinking about adding an ADU to your existing home. Of course, I would like a tax incentive to go along with it. If we're providing a home for someone who can't afford it, it would be very nice to get a tax break as an older person. That would be great. And my last comment is what I always say. I do not believe that 1 square inch of open space in this town should be used for housing. Not 1 square inch. People donated their land for open space, and we should not abuse that gift. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for your time.
Thank
Do you have any questions for me? Or we're all done?
No,
We're all done.
We're good, though.
Thank you.
I will add that if you looked at our minutes, we did discuss having an informational session on ADUs.
Excuse me, Kathy, I didn't hear.
We did talk about our last meeting having an informational session
Oh,
on
okay.
ADUs.
I didn't
So
know that.
That was
My
part of
first
the-
time here.
Yeah, so that is, on
It's in the
our
works, and
books,
we
in the works.
also, we published information about ADUs last year and the year before.
Yeah.
Is it in the
I believe-
POCD?
I believe it was on our website, wasn't it?
It's still on our website.
Is
I
it
mean,
there?
if you check,
Okay.
and, we've had a informational flyer on ADUs, how to go about ADUs, more information on ADUs. We had a flyer that we handed out for the past 2 years, at Woodbridge Like Me Day, at Earth Day, whenever we have informational
Is it
sessions.
available online, that flyer?
It is actually still it should still be on our website. It's like
Okay.
the first, when you go right to the housing committee, there's a big banner that talks about, did you know about ADUs?
Okay.
So.
That I haven't
I know
come across.
it's interesting that, we get called out for things, but we in fact do address it. But, we just can't deliver things through osmosis. We hope people listen
Yeah.
to us, but I appreciate your comment. And, I would recommend that you look at our website. We have a lot of information on there, and just check the information on our website.
Okay. And I do like the personal touch. I really think if you had a speaker, I would come to talk about this and how it works.
Yeah.
Because things change. That would be
Right.
really nice.
Right, and you can even talk to, Chris Sullivan. I mean, she could step through the
Yeah.
process of how to do an ADU. I know what you're recommending also, and I know Chris is a proponent of looking to provide incentives for somebody to build an ADU if you do restrict the the rent, to have a restrictive covenants on it, to have some type of tax break.
Yeah.
In order to do that, and he's going to be looking into, that type of, program where we could actually get a tax incentive to
Okay.
do that, so.
If
we
that
are-
happens, just let everybody know, and I'll be sitting on the front row.
Good.
And
Great.
thank
Okay,
you.
it's good to know.
Thank you all.
Okay, anybody else here for public comment? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna go on to the next agenda item, which is my housing chair report. And I did want to just say, you know, there was, kind of changed our days around. We did talk about having a joint meeting with conservation, and we made sure we changed our meeting to accommodate, you know, they were gonna give us 45 minutes on their agenda, but then they decided to cancel the meeting. From what I understand, there was an open house, Beecher Road School, or they were busy with the first week of school being open, so I guess people just weren't able to make the regular conservation committee meeting, and so that's been canceled. I was thinking that maybe we could just formally invite them for our next meeting and extend an invitation for our October meeting and see if they would be interested in having a joint meeting, or at least coming for, you know, part of our meeting so we could begin the conversation, because I think that's important just to start talking about how we could work together to have a, you know, equitable, sustainable Woodbridge.
I think that's a great idea, Kathy, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so if people think that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so I will do that. Again, I encourage everybody to continue watching planning and zoning meetings, because it does relate to a current housing development, and just to, you know, get a deeper understanding of people's views and issues. And also, it looks like the public hearing for the POCD for planning and zoning is going to be, looks like that's going to be rescheduled for some time in the middle of October. I know I had reported at the last housing meeting that the POCD public hearing would be September 25th, but then because there was a town event that night, they didn't want they didn't want planning and zoning to schedule a public meeting on the same night as a town event. So they were going to reschedule it for their next meeting, but then because of the planning and zoning application for the Fountain Street got rescheduled, that public hearing got rescheduled for the October meeting. So it looks like there's going to be a separate meeting from planning and zoning to have the public hearing for the POCD. So that looks like it's going to be sometime in the middle of October, but I don't have the exact date for that just yet. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions on timing and dates and things of that sort?
I was asked about the updated affordable housing plan that we voted on in August. When will that go on the town website? I imagine it's got to be presented to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
They accept it and they put it on the website, but has it been presented to the Board of Selectmen?
It was submitted to the town, and from what I understood was it got submitted to the town, but the town didn't put it in the Board of Selectmen's packet yet because there was a lot of stuff going on for September. So that between the POCD and everything, they didn't want to overload all the information to the Board of Selectmen. So my understanding is that will be submitted to them at some point before, I'm not sure when, but
Okay,
it's going to be submitted to them, but it's going to be on the docket for October.
okay.
And that's what I understood from watching the last Board of Selectmen meeting.
One of the challenges that we have as the Affordable Housing Committee, the Housing Committee, is that we can't talk about 804 Fountain Street. And this is what I said months ago, how the state says you should have a member of town plan and zoning on your housing committee, and I said you shouldn't because it's a conflict, and here we are. We are in a situation where as the housing committee, we should be talking about housing. And we're not able to talk about the second largest proposed housing development in Woodbridge. And that's a problem. We should figure out how we can do that. I don't know how we do it, but we need to figure out how we can have a substantive conversation about 804 Fountain.
Well, we could vote to put that on the agenda, and if you want to put that the last item of the agenda, I'd be more than happy to recuse myself.
Okay.
So if you want to put that on the agenda, and you want to make a motion to do that.
Kathy, if you could talk up a little bit.
Oh, I was
Our
saying,
friends in the back could hear too.
can you hear me okay? I was saying if the committee wants to put the discussion of 804 Fountain Street on the agenda for tonight, you could vote to do that and put it at the last time of the agenda, and I could recuse myself, and then you could discuss it. That's totally up to you. But, I mean, I think that's how you work around it. I think if you want to talk about it, certainly could talk about it. I just
It
can't
just
be
seems
involved.
odd that the housing committee is not talking about a big housing project. We should be talking about that.
No, I understand your point, because everybody in the town is talking about
Yeah.
it, so certainly we should be able to talk about it. I understand your point.
I would agree.
Okay, so does somebody want
I'll
to?
make a
I would
motion
vote to
to
put
add 804 Fountain Street to the agenda for tonight's meeting.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Oops. Sorry. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda. Mary, did you hear that?
Most of it, yeah.
Okay.
It's reminding me of why wait a second. Yeah, it's reminding me of why I shouldn't take the minutes. I could only hear a little bit of it. Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, we've been talking about the desirability of having a lot more communication between commissions. And I just this afternoon was able to get to listening to video about conservation and housing, and in which they brought up a lot of examples, or several examples, I think, if I remember correctly, of towns where there is an individual from conservation on the housing committee, and there's someone from housing on the conservation committee. Mm-hmm. When you have a situation like that, why wouldn't it be possible to discuss it in those cases, or would it be impossible to discuss it, or is it specific to TP&Z and an ongoing application that an individual who's on that commission is prohibited from discussing it publicly? Would you explain that, please, Kathy?
Right. No, it'd certainly be okay between housing and conservation to discuss matters, but when you're talking about planning and zoning, if it's an open application that, has not been decided upon, you're, as a commission member, you cannot be talking to the public about the application.
Okay, yeah. Is that by regulation, or is it legal, or that's an idle curiosity question.
No, I would imagine that is by regulation, that you cannot, you cannot be talking or you can't be doing anything that could, create a bias or predetermination in the decision of the application.
Yeah, that the others do not share information and influence. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Sorry to take your time with just a query.
no, it's a good question, and it is a, it's a sticking point, but you have to kind of keep the process, without you can't influence the process, so that's why I can't be talking about applications that are open, even as an alternate. I can't be talking as applications that are open.
No. Yeah, it would be too difficult to separate a specific application issue from a general housing issue as it relates to a particular type of situation.
Right. Well, certainly I could talk about generality of having you know, a multifaceted approach for providing affordable housing, which I believe, you know, that is accomplishing. But, you know, again, I would rather err on just not saying, really speaking about, you know, the development.
Okay. Yep. Well, what we can do, of course, is have a discussion from which you can recuse yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it turns out that you perceive that we're having a discussion on a general enough level, then you could perhaps, you know, but it would certainly be up to you. You understand the limits better than I certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to agree. I mean, this is as much as, you know, I would love to not have anything to do with Fountain Street whatsoever because it's such a landmine. We do have to, you know, we do have to have opinions about it, at least individually, and perhaps as a housing commission. Although I don't know. That's for discussion.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, we did talk about having a multifaceted approach, which, you know, includes higher density developments from, you know, higher density developments to ADUs, you know, so and everything in between. So I think that has always been our approach here for Woodbridge. You know, different, you know, I think apartment buildings work in certain areas in Woodbridge, and it also doesn't work in certain areas in Woodbridge, but you have to balance that. Are we good with that discussion? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, the next item, we had talked about making public comments by the Housing Committee on the master plan for the country club. And as I understand, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting, there is going to be a presentation on that master plan for the country club. So, you know, I started thinking, and I just wanted to kind of discuss this, whether or not I think we shouldn't make a public comment, but I'm just wondering whether or not we should maybe listen to see what the plan actually entails, because there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of, when you look at the master plan framework that was on the website, there was no mention of affordable housing, and that was our great concern.
Yeah, there were two alternatives, and neither one of them
Right,
mentioned affordable housing, so that was a question that I think we all had.
right. So, so I guess one of my questions is, and I do have, because I know I sent Mary, well, Mary did send out, she ended up sending out the public comment that I did up. I realized I didn't send that to Allison to print up, but did people get a chance to look at what Mary sent out? If not, I do have, I do have a copy. Do you have a copy of that? Do people have a copy of the public comment?
Do I have it? No.
I do not.
All right.
Is it in
What?
Here's, that's my original one, though Mary did put some changes in it.
Thank you.
Or do I have it here?
No, just suggestions,
Some
not
sus-
changes. I thought it was an excellent piece.
Okay, so I try to keep it kind of to the point.
I think we should take out the second point, which has data in there that I'm not sure of the accuracy of the data. Not saying it's not accurate, just not sure about it. But I don't think that makes or breaks the comment. The point is they have omitted affordable housing in the plan. And that's a huge error on the part of a master plan. But I think the second, where it says second, take that paragraph out entirely and just go with everything else.
Why, Chris?
Because I'm not sure that data is accurate. And I only just got this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. So if we have an opportunity, I don't know when the Board of Selectmen is going to have this presentation, but if we're gonna put data in there, we gotta make sure it's accurate. And I just am not sure. So
Well,
if
what's
we're
the
not
source
sure,
of the
we should-
data?
yeah.
Yeah, I can give you the
What is the
source.
source of the data, and then
Yeah.
let's just vet it.
Right,
if
Well,
so
where's the source of the data?
the 300 Woodbridge households, that was based on a discussion when David Morgan came on April 30th. That community conversation we had with Housing and Economic Development.
Yep.
He, if you listen to him, he talked about 300 households coming to, so that was something he,
Is that 300 separate households, or is that 300 requests for assistance from Woodbridge households? Which could be one household requesting 300 times, or 300 households requesting once. Do we know the difference?
you know what I could do there is just quote him and say, according to David Morgan from Team Inc.,
You could quote him.
and then we'll just quote him, and it's just based on his quote. So
I still don't think it's necessary.
I think it's
because-
very necessary, because
Okay.
I think the issue is,
The issue is they didn't put any affordable housing in a housing plan for the Country Club of Woodbridge.
Yes, and
That's
this-
the issue. And
But this really drives home, it just reinforces the point of how necessary it really
Okay.
is. So
I think
I
that-
can't see how
okay.
it can hurt.
I think it's gotta be accurate, if you're gonna put it in
No,
there. So what's
I-
the next, the 9%, 270 residents are Alice household, okay.
yeah, so
Alice households. Where did this come from?
we looked that up, in fact, that's in our housing plan. We did quote that.
It's in our housing plan?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
because we looked up Alice.
What, you know, what page it
I
is?
think in the revised plan, we were, right, Mary? We talked about Alice households?
Yes, that's right, we did.
It's economic data.
According to my understanding.
And I think
Oh.
2025, the Alice went to 9%. Well, we could look at, that's an
Well,
easy.
you know, when I was reading that paragraph, I thought, nobody in town has failed to hear many people talk about our need for
The United
housing
Way.
for our own
It's the
residents.
United Way
If
data,
only
right.
they're talking about people who want to downsize. And if it's affordable housing, you know, would serve the needs of that segment of the population that is manifestly already here. So we don't even mention that part.
No.
And I thought of maybe we should, and then I thought, oh well, that's, you know, it can get too complicated. I thought your main point was an important one, namely that it's our job as the Affordable Housing Committee to speak for a segment of our community population
Right.
that needs this resource. And that's another thing that we pointed out in the housing plan. So I
So
take your
let's
point,
just
Chris,
make a
but I think
citation
we're okay here.
that says that the United Way calculates, no, hold on a second, that's not, no, that's not, where did that information didn't come from the United Way, did it?
It came from United Way, yeah.
Okay, so we just need to cite that, cite where it came from. And then the 93% of people who work in Woodbridge can't afford to live in Woodbridge, where did that number come from?
That came from the POCD, that came
Okay,
from.
well, that's
Isla.
not accurate, because you would have to survey all those people, and I know the people who work for me haven't been surveyed, so, I mean, you just gotta take that out. It's just gotta be accurate, you know, it's gotta be accurate.
That just seems a little high.
Well, I think we could say there's many people that work in I mean,
Well, you could say that, but that doesn't have any relevance.
Well, we could-
Just take the sentence out and leave the rest.
I don't know that, it's not, I know you have a feeling that it's not correct.
I asked you for the data, and.
Okay, so we
So
could,
where's the
we could
data
cite,
that-
so why don't we
cite
cite it? According to the current data from the Plan of Conservation Development
Okay,
proposed.
just put the page number down, so we have a reference to it, and we can
Okay,
go back and look
so
at it.
according to the proposed Plan of Conservation and Development, 93% of people who work in Woodbridge,
Yeah.
you know, do not live in Woodbridge.
Don't make enough money to afford a house in Woodbridge.
Right.
Well, I just would like to know where that, where did it
Well, they
come
could
from?
choose.
Maybe they want to live somewhere else. I mean,
Yeah, but where did it come from is what I want to know. Because it sounds to me very much like an American Community Survey 5-year estimate number, okay? I've talked to people all the time that live in Woodbridge that are not incredibly wealthy people. And I talk to teachers, I talk to police officers, nurses, you name it, and they live in Woodbridge. And they're not making a lot of money, but they find a way to live here. So if we're gonna put something in there, it's better be accurate.
I would agree with Chris on that. I mean, it's not relevant. You know, the real relevance is that we have to take care of this issue. Whether it's 93%, 90, or 10%,
The point is
It doesn't
this.
make a difference.
We don't have enough affordable housing in Woodbridge.
That's correct.
And we need to find a way to add to our affordable housing stock, okay? That number is not gonna help us get there, okay? It's not. It's just gonna make people have discussions like this saying, where did it come from?
Yep.
Okay, so that's why, I'm trying to make this easier for us.
It's gonna make it, it's gonna make it possible for people to just bog down on the details here and miss the major point.
Well, we could either say A, according to the information of POCD, or we could say B, you know, that there are many people that work in Woodbridge that can't afford to live in Woodbridge. I think that's a, yes, I mean,
Look,
that.
Why don't you just
that-
take this sentence
Look,
out?
No, because it's an important sentence.
I don't think it's
It-
important
it-
at
No,
all, okay?
I feel it's important. I'll get the consensus.
I don't
of
think
us
it
two.
adds a lot to the party, to be honest with you. I mean, the big issue here
Kathy,
is
the-
that
the
we
POCD has a
need,
lot
we
of
need,
failings.
we want to increase the amount of affordable housing. We have plans for the use of the country club, for example, that ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, what we're trying to say is that this is an issue and you can't ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it. That's it.
Well, you just have to understand that one of the changes in the zoning enabling act is that we have to plan and zone not only for people that live in Woodbridge, but people who live in the region.
Okay,
So
accurately.
we have to make it.
Accurately, okay? You have to do it accurately. So you gotta take that number out because it's not an accurate number. I've started to look at the POCD. There's a lot of inaccurate data in there, okay? We took all the inaccurate data out of here. They haven't done that, okay? That's not been done. So you gotta do it right, or why are we even bothering to do it at all? Why are we updating our plan of conservation and development with data that's inaccurate? Why would we do that? That makes no sense,
I
okay?
would support taking the number out there. Why don't we just say, non-public hearings are the many people who work in Woodbridge but can't afford to live in town.
Okay.
Something like that.
I mean, I think it is true that there's many, I know people, you know, there's people that work in Woodbridge that cannot afford to live in Woodbridge. I mean, I think that is a basic fact. And,
Isn't the more precise issue, are there people who want to live in Woodbridge who can't afford to live in Woodbridge? I mean, there are people who don't live in Woodbridge because they don't want to live in Woodbridge, okay?
Right.
So.
who
you know,
can't afford, right, you're right.
Well, maybe they can, maybe they can't, but they don't want to. So that may not be the reason, all right? So I don't know that we need to put a number in there. It just seems, it's just asking for, it just distracts, I think, rather than amplifies the point.
Well, maybe we could address it by saying, as the POCD brought out, there are a significant number of people that work in Woodbridge that do not live in Woodbridge, and it could, you know, signify that they're not able to afford housing in Woodbridge.
They may not be able to afford housing in Woodbridge.
Yeah.
They may not be able to
Right.
afford housing.
It could be that they just don't want to live in
Correct.
Woodbridge, which is.
And I've
you
had
know,
conversations with people about that as well, who work
Okay.
in Woodbridge and choose not to live here because they don't want to live where they work. And I like living where I work, but other people, that's their opinion, and I respect that.
All right, so if folks are okay, I'll just change it to that sentence. Okay. Any other changes? And are we okay with Mary's changes?
Oh, can you see them? I'm not even okay with some of my changes.
Let me just see, well, you did send it out, so people have a chance to look at the changes that Mary did. Did I print it out? Okay, I have them. So Mary added a sentence, the second paragraph, she added a sentence where we talk about to exclude affordable housing from the framework risks missing one of the best opportunities to address Woodbridge's housing needs in a thoughtful, sustainable way. Woodbridge's affordable housing plan has already made this point in this recommendation.
Mary, I'm not seeing
I
that.
just thought it would be a good idea to point back to the affordable housing plan.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
I see, okay.
So I think, we okay with that?
Yeah,
The third paragraph, where it says second, she added in, it is our responsibility as a committee to be a voice for the housing needs of all members of the community. And then it goes into the need in our community for affordable housing is real. So I think that, to me, that really amplifies the fact that we need to be a voice for people that are not coming out to public hearing, that don't have a seat at the table.
Okay.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. And then she added, the board also has a responsibility to be a voice for those who are not in the room. And then the the fifth paragraph, finally, planning for affordable housing, so it's just to clarify on the Country Club of Woodbridge is consistent with the Connecticut's plan of conservation and development, which encourages higher density housing on previously developed land. So I think those are all good recommendation changes. All right.
Yep, I'm good.
So with that, what I'll do is incorporate the changes that we discussed. I'll send it out to everybody to make sure I got this right. And then we could submit it, we could either, I guess the question is, do we want to submit this for public comment as a written document? Or I'd be more than happy to read it. And since we're going to be there anyway, because we're going to be making a comment on the housing ordinance, I guess we could just, if we're going to
Or
be
you
there
could just
anyway.
submit it, and then you could also read it. You're gonna
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we read it, you could submit it. So,
Where do we make sure that everybody understands that this document is from the whole committee? We need to emphasize that fact.
Says it at the top,
yeah,
Woodbridge Affordable Housing Committee.
Right, but then it says I am speaking on behalf of, which is okay, but it kind of shifts the focus back again to the individual. And in this case, I would prefer that
we say we are speaking?
at the whole committee speak as one, and make that real clear. Some people may not be inclined to believe that.
Okay,
I'm fine with the way it is. I mean, it says I am speaking on behalf of the committee, and then it says the committee believes, has reviewed and believes. I think it's pretty clear that you're speaking for us, not for yourself.
yeah, but it would be good if people could make that meeting
Yep.
to be, and we're speaking in solidarity that,
That's fine too.
so folks could be there next week,
When's that gonna be?
making the public comment. And if, I don't know if somebody else would, I don't need to make the public comment. If somebody else wants to volunteer to make the public comment, that's fine too. I guess, as a chair, I feel responsible to do that, but, if somebody is so inclined to read this, just let me know and think about it, let me know. I'm fine with that as well.
Kathy, when's that meeting?
Oh,
Next
yesterday.
Wednesday,
Is it Wednesday?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. All
Shall I
right,
come and put my foot up?
maybe.
Somebody's desk?
That would be, should we vote on it, or?
Next Wednesday is the Board of Selectmen meeting, where they're going to discuss this Country Club of Woodbridge Master Plan, and also discuss the
Housing
creation of the Housing Commission.
Right. Yep. So I think with those changes, maybe we should vote on the public comment, right? So I'm gonna make a motion with those changes that we,
Just one, should brownfield be capitalized because it's a specific kind of, no?
No,
Jim says no.
it's generally not,
Not,
no,
okay.
it's just referred to as, it's a
Okay.
descriptive thing. And
Are you?
where, I'm sorry, where,
Oh, I'm just down by
Towards the bottom.
the paragraph, finally planning for the affordable housing. It mentions it would also make the town eligible
Oh, right,
for
right, yeah.
brownfield cleanup funds. I always thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
don't-
like a
I-
specific,
yeah.
I
it's
see
not-
it a
it's not
lot, but I
referring-
never
yeah.
see it capitalized.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not referring to a particular brownfields grant, it's just
So there
descriptive.
are, I mean, it's, I know it's not, I didn't realize, it's not referring to a particular grant, but there are brownfield cleanup grants
Yes,
available.
yes.
Okay, all right.
Kathy, if, are you going to submit this as well as having it read? 'Cause
Yes.
if it's gonna be submitted, you know, I always believe the chair should make the remarks, but I'm willing to stand behind the chair, so why don't we all just, all voting members are here right now, we could just sign the statement. So if you, when you submit it, it'll be signed by all of us, and that'll be clear that the committee backs the statement.
But
Okay.
is the question to just submit it in writing or to also read it out loud? Is that what you're?
No, you could do both. I mean,
Yep.
you could read it and then submit it to, you know, Allison. So people do, just like, you know, Kathy did tonight. She read her statement and she submitted it to me. You could read your statement and then submit it for the record.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, the idea if I could add everybody's name to it,
Well, you made a motion to approve it. We didn't get a second, did we?
I'll
Got a
second.
second?
all in favor? Okay. So we
It's
will
unanimously approved.
do
To
that.
present this to the Board of Selectmen.
I do.
Okay,
Thanks,
there you
Mary.
go.
Okay,
Good night.
so I will get those changes out right away so people can see that, and you get back to me if you have a problem with it. If I don't hear from you,
I
that
assume
means,
it's,
I'll assume it's okay.
yeah.
Okay, moving on. Public hearing on the Housing Commission's, the ordinance. And so we had talked about this briefly at the last meeting,
Yes.
and it is covered in our minutes. And when I did ask Steve Muno to send me over, because I wanted to make sure I had the right version of the ordinance, and I think I did have the last version the last time we talked. And we talked about particular, you know, changes. And when I started going through it, there was a couple other things I wanted to discuss adding.
So this document is what the Board of Selectmen has created to use to create the Housing Commission, correct?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
subcommittee of the,
They have an ordinance committee that created this document. So are they looking for, they're looking for comments on additions or modifications to this document before they approve the Housing Commission, is
Well,
that correct?
I think as part of the regulations for ordinance, when you propose an ordinance, it has to go to public hearing.
Okay,
So this is the public hearing part of it.
so we will be able to comment and make suggestions on additions or changes if we feel that's necessary.
Correct.
This is the same document we saw the last meeting, or has it changed in any?
No, it didn't change. I wasn't
So your
sure.
recommendations haven't been rejected?
Well, yeah, but when I started going through, I'm sorry, I'm just looking for
Yes, 6 is a bit.
my write-up I did. Let's see. One sec.
I have some notes here.
Yeah, you had some notes from,
You said you're concerned it's 6 members,
Yes.
it's hard to have a quorum, maybe have 2 alternates. 7 is the suggestion, or alternates. Guilford Affordable Housing Commission, consult with other towns and other commissions. Kathy, important to have town planner to assist. Those were the notes that I made.
Right, and I started going through the Guilford Affordable Housing Commission ordinance, which I felt was a really good blueprint. I know we had gone through this a while ago, and there was a couple items in there, one of which we did talk about, and within their ordinance, they talked about to advise and interact with other town committees and commissions and other municipal agencies to develop and expand affordable housing in the town of Woodbridge. So that's how I wanted to, in the comments, I was going to write up for the ordinance, or the public hearing, I was going to include that, and it's kind of the same variation of what we discussed at the last meeting. The other piece that the Guilford Housing Ordinance did have was they defined what affordable housing was. And I don't think that was in this ordinance. They didn't define affordable housing. So I thought it would be a good idea to say that to use what Guilford did, and to say affordable housing has a meaning ascribed to it in section 8-39A of the Connecticut General Statutes, to refer back to the definition of affordable housing.
It was 8-39A, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question about that. According to 8-39A, which I don't have in front of me, affordable housing is deed restricted or somehow restricted, right?
Yes.
This is from the Plan of Conservation and Development, and it doesn't have anything here that says that it's deed restricted. It talks about affordable housing. There's a mismatch between the number of moderate and low-income households and protected affordable housing units within the community. Connecticut General Statute 8-39A defines affordable housing as housing for which people and families pay 30% or less of their annual income. It does not say in here that the housing has to be deed restricted, which it needs to say that.
Did I hear the word protected in there somewhere? When you were?
It says there is a mismatch between the number of moderate and lower income households and protected affordable housing units within the community. That's the first sentence. Then it says Connecticut General Statutes defines affordable housing as. It doesn't define, it should be defined as deed restricted. And the Plan of Conservation and Development doesn't say that the housing is deed restricted. That's got to get in there, because it's
Well, I think
got to.
that's where it says, and I don't disagree with you, but it says protected.
That's not, no. That is before what it says, what 839A is. 839A says that affordable housing must be deed restricted, correct? Okay, so that needs to say that. It should say Connecticut General Statute 839A defines affordable housing as housing that is deed restricted, affordable. Okay, and it doesn't say that. It really needs to say that, because that's very confusing for someone who has not been doing this. That's really confusing. That's got to be fixed.
Kathy, was that one of the issues that was that's coming up in the new legislation? Because originally it was a 40-year deed restriction. Did that change somewhere, or is it still a 40-year deed restriction?
It's, yeah.
It's 10% for a deed restricted ADU. 10 years for a deed restricted ADU, correct?
There's different, different, and, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so.
Yeah, different
But
restrictions for different situations?
There are different restrictions, if it's like government, if it's like subsidized, it just kind of runs with, like, for instance, if you have like home assisted, like federal home funding in there, that is restricted based on the amount of subsidy you get, which could be 10 years, 20 years. it runs with 10, 20, not everything has to be 40 years.
Okay,
So,
but-
so
but
it's
it-
really
but-
dependent on the situation.
But to Chris's point, there always is some deed
Right,
restriction, right?
there's a deed restriction that has to be monitored. So be it, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, it
Yeah.
has to be monitored.
Okay.
But certainly there's an email, the Plan of Conservation and Development. They have an email, and if you see those types of
It's a lot.
discrepancies that need to
It's a
be
lot.
corrected, then
Yeah, it's a
you should
lot.
put that in there.
It feels like almost like
I don't think the
another
statute at
full-time
that
job,
section says anything
going
about
through
it.
all this data. It's a lot. It's 119 pages or something like that of information that should be accurate, Anyways, sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, where was
We're
I?
on to the Housing Commission language.
Okay. So my thought was for the ordinance that we should define affordable housing. And here, we're just talking about affordable housing having the same, I'm not going into what the definition is, but that it refers to the definition in the Connecticut General Statutes.
I think the problem is, because I got the statute in front of me, I think the problem is that 8839A defines affordable housing, says this is the definition. It doesn't talk about the deed restriction. I think there may have been some other part of it. So we need, but it
Yeah.
needs to be understood.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that, I think,
Because there's also, we've talked, and it talks, I think, in the Plan of Conservation and Development about, and also in our plan, about naturally affordable housing, which is out there, but it doesn't count towards your
Correct.
moratorium numbers or anything
Correct.
like that, and it's not, it's not deed restricted. So it's
It- it can-
really confusing, and the point is, if we make this less confusing, more people will be amenable to it.
yeah, it should be made clear. I think, I agree with you.
It is very complicated, and I don't, even in being in this field for a long, long, long time, it's, I don't think certainly it's just a continuation of educating people as to what affordable housing is, whether or not everybody's gonna understand every single detail about, how long the restrictive covenants run for based on what type of funding, what type of development, it's, I have to even
You're
look that
right,
up.
but they should know that if it's to count as affordable housing, it must have some sort of deed
Yes.
restriction. They
Yes.
need to know, because I'm sure there's people watching right now saying, wait a minute, I own rental property and my property is affordable, why doesn't it count? I'm sure there's people that are thinking that. So it's really educating people on how important it is that deed restriction is affordable. So if we're going to define affordable housing in this, we should probably state that.
I think for purposes of the ordinance, I was just gonna suggest to do what Guilford did and just state that affordable housing has the meaning ascribed to it in section 8-39A of the Connecticut
But I
General
think we should
Statutes.
set forth that meeting, because it's a pain when you're reading something and then you have to go refer to something else. Just put a sentence in so they understand.
Well, you can't, because it's long, and you can't just put a sentence in, that's the whole
Lou,
thing.
remember in law school, they told you never paraphrase a statute?
Yeah. Yeah, so
I remember that.
I think it's
Can see
important to
why.
put in there, but we can't write the whole statute out.
Provided with the restrictions contained in section so-and-so.
Right, or-
I mean, but just to get the point out there.
I think the point that should be in there is that when we're talking about affordable housing, we're talking about a defined affordable housing as defined by the Connecticut General Statutes. And that's what I feel is important to be in this ordinance. So,
So, can I ask a question?
sure,
We're talking about the chapter 75 proposed new article, blah, blah.
yep.
Okay, so I noticed that they seem to be very careful about not using the term affordable housing, but rather trying to describe the scope of our responsibilities and our vision and so forth as in more general terms. So if they did that on purpose and have a good, did you talk to Steve about that?
I said that we were gonna have some recommendations, and he just asked to get them to him sooner than later.
Well, do pay attention to the fact that the only occurrence of the word affordable housing here is in reference to the plan, which is its title. And otherwise, they're talking about housing opportunities for people at all levels of income and stages of life. And I think that makes some sense because isn't our charge, of course, we began as a committee to write the affordable housing plan, and that's our focus. But, you know, we may want to be talking about housing for people with disabilities or senior housing or something in the future.
Well, it
So
does.
I wouldn't want to restrict it too much and not complicate it anymore.
Oh, no, I mean, this is not to restrict it, we're only talking about, you know.
No,
it
it
just-
actually
it
opens it
mentioned-
up to
yeah.
do more.
Right, no, we're definitely, we were always
I can't
about.
see what you're doing. I just wanted to point out that it seems that they may have deliberately not put affordable housing in there, maybe as a distraction. I don't know what they were thinking, and I wondered if you had talked to Steve
But
about that.
Mary, it's mentioned in B, under 7589B, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options.
What's in there?
So it's there.
Right, and I just want to make sure.
Okay, I see it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that's why I just wanted to make sure that that was defined.
And it's one of its powers and duties is to recommend amendments and modifications to the town's affordable housing plan. So it's there.
Yeah, well, then just say affordable housing options, including those, you know, that are perceived, described as, or whatever you were saying. It's hard for me here, sorry.
Okay, so the question is, do folks want to put that defining affordable housing? And this is, again, I took this from the Guilford Housing Commission ordinance that defined affordable housing. So it's, you know, quote, affordable housing, unquote, has the meaning ascribed to it in section 8-39A of the Connecticut General Statutes. I wanted to, I'm suggesting that we put that in the ordinance so it's clear. Is that something?
I don't think it's clear.
It's not clear.
I really don't.
You'd have to
And
say
Jim said
that.
before, you know, you were taught in law school, not to paraphrase, but we were taught in law school, set forth the entire section in your briefs as well. I'm not suggesting that at all, because we want to keep this short, but I would think we do mention that there are certain restrictions
Okay.
provided for in that section.
Yeah, that's not the section that has the deed restrictions
Well,
in it.
find
It's
the
in the
right
regs,
section.
so
Yep.
don't expect people to think that if they look at there, they're gonna
Yeah,
find the
we'll
deed
put the right
restrictions, okay?
section.
I mean, you know, we'll find them, I mean, it's not a
I
mystery.
mean,
It's
this
out of the
is
statutes.
broad enough to cover a lot. A lot of housing, all the housing. I think it's broad enough to cover all the housing. So I don't know why we need to do that. Unless you're gonna make a recommendation and they can say, no, we want to keep it simpler, so.
So I'm getting the sense not to put it in there.
I think we should leave it
No, I
as it
think if
is.
you put it in there, that's fine. That is where you'll find the definition, the statutory definition of affordable housing is found in that statute, in that particular section.
Right.
However, there's a bunch of other sections that regulate it, and there are regulations that aren't, necessarily in the statute.
Right, but I was just talking about the definition. in
Yeah,
itself.
no, I think what you are saying is accurate,
Okay,
okay? May not be the whole story, but it is accurate.
okay.
I have a problem with it.
Do we just vote on this and we'll see where it comes out?
Well, so what do you want to vote on?
Well, I want to know whether or not I feel it's important to define affordable housing, just so people know, when we're talking about affordable housing, we are talking about affordable housing as defined in the Connecticut
So you're
General
talking about
Statutes.
deed restricted affordable housing, or housing that has a mortgage that's paid for through government grant, or government loan.
Well, there's
What else?
a lot of other,
Okay.
things to
See where
that
it gets, see
too.
where it gets tricky, because there's a lot of other things.
Yeah, no, there's a lot,
Yeah.
but you have to go to section dash 39A to see that. And I just want folks to understand when we're talking about affordable housing, they're not thinking it as, well, I don't, I don't charge a lot of rent, so it's affordable. I just wanted it tied into a statute.
I mean, I can harmonize what you are saying, Kathy, and what Chris is saying, is that, there may be, housing that is cheap enough, and people want to know, well, why isn't it,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Well, because of the income restrictions, okay, that's one thing, that income restrictions, and the definition of affordable housing in that section, okay? It doesn't talk about the restrictions, it talks about the income levels, okay? But there are also issues about to qualify as affordable housing, you have to meet certain other restrictions, so, I mean, technically, if you say that affordable housing is defined as it is in, 8-39A, that's correct. But that is not the entire story.
How about if we just say, so I don't want to get too bogged down in this, versus this establishing the committee, it's not opening it up for public comment,
Right.
but just cite that section and say 8-39A and related sections.
I don't think that's clear either. Again, this was something that was in the Guilford Affordable Housing Ordinance, and so that's what I picked up from, but I just felt for the purposes of this ordinance, I needed to.
How is that gonna change what the Housing Commission does?
It doesn't,
Okay,
Yep, so that's
doesn't
fine.
change it at all.
no.
So the Housing Commission is gonna function the way the Housing Commission is gonna function. If it's not gonna change it, why aren't we having a conversation? Let's move on to the next thing. People wanna know what the Housing Commission does, they're gonna look at the page on the website of what the Housing Commission does. They're not gonna look at the article that created it, they're gonna look at what the Housing Commission does. They're gonna look for the affordable housing plan, they're gonna look for all the other data that's gonna be on there. They're not gonna look at this document. Because if you look at this document, it says, in general terms, the Housing Commission is tasked with finding different types of housing in Woodbridge, including affordable. So,
Well, again, that's why I felt that it should be defined, because, so people understood it. And, we could, if people are feeling strongly about the fact that
it's not even up to us, it's up to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
And this is from the Board of Selectmen?
this is from the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah,
so this
so-
is just,
So
some-
they're gonna, they've come up with their language, and we can come back and say, let's make it, change the language, but they can just say, no,
No, of course.
we like
no.
the language.
This is just recommendations
Yeah.
to them.
So,
And they could say, thank you, but we like the way we wrote it, and we're not gonna take your
Okay.
recommendations.
And at
What-
least it's broad for us anyway, so I withdraw all comments, let's just move on to another section.
Could I ask this? There are 5 listed things that the commission shall do. Does that include locating, soliciting, or whatever developers? For example? I mean, is that a resource? Or is that somebody else's job? I mean, it's not an idle question, because it actually came up in the public comments.
mhm.
Well, when it says research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options, I would think,
Identify some developers.
I would
with-
think within that, you could identify some developers who would be,
Okay. Now, once you've identified them, whose responsibility is to reach out to those folks? I mean, I want this committee to get out over its skis.
mhm.
It's a good question.
Well, I mean, there's also the Economic Development Committee that is also looking at, since housing is economic development, that could be a function of what they do, but, you know, I think it could be within our purview to identify, you know, identify a developer. Or we talked about having a developer roundtable. So you have a developer roundtable, then it's really up to, you know, the town, the planner. We're gonna have and I think they did actually, are in the process of engaging a new planner, which is very good news. So the planner would be somebody that would work with the town to,
Okay.
you know, facilitate that.
Okay, the reason I brought it up is because one of the commenters tonight, you know, was essentially inviting us or telling us what we, you know, that we should be out, you know, sort of, I guess, inviting or at least interacting with developers, for example, the one in Orange, Lascano. I mean, is that something we're supposed to do? Or is that something that, you know, we can make recommendations and that's for the Board of Selectmen or the, you know, or the Economic Development Committee to do?
In a way, this is good because it's very broad and this is, you know, as long as we're not prohibited from doing something, the broader they leave it, the better it is for us to act. And it does say here in point B, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options. So we could develop this that way. So I mean, I don't mind it being this broad actually, the more I think about it.
I think there's just like one, and let me just finish up on the developers, because certainly, you know, the developer, Lascana, is, you know, a, you know, colleague of mine that I've known for over, you know, 25 years. So I could tell you that, you know, the town has talked to her and you know, has been over there, and so there has been those discussions. So I think, you know, the idea of bringing developers in to engage with the town, I think that's totally in our purview to do, and it has happened.
Yeah.
And it's been happening, and it will happen more once we have a planner on board. You know, I know the town's been talking to LISC. You know, LISC is a kind of facilitator of developments. So, you know, they're actively talking to LISC and talking about potential developments as well. So that is ongoing. So it's not like it's not happening, and it's happening because of the fact that we have been bringing folks to engage with the town. And so it is going on, maybe because people don't know it's going on. I mean, just like, you know, the ADUs, like we don't know anything about ADUs. We've like, you know, you wrote an article.
I wrote a whole paper on it.
Yeah, you know, we've had the flyer. I've been handing out flyers. You know, I'm you
Yeah.
know, we put it on our website. You know, we put it in the newsletter.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort
Yeah.
to educate.
And
It
it's
takes
true,
a
and we
lot
can't be
of time and
defensive
effort.
about it. It does
No,
take a lot
I mean,
of time.
I just haven't had the time to send the ADU information that I got early in the summer. I've been absolutely slammed the last probably 5 or 6 weeks. But I'll send it all over and take a look at it. And you'll see, there's like step-by-step plans on how to do it, which I don't know that we're gonna get that today in Woodbridge, but I'd like to get to a point where someone could walk into town hall and say, I'm interested in doing an ADU. Great. You're gonna do this, and this first. And then once you do those things, this is what we're gonna do next. And then we're gonna meet with this person, you're gonna meet with this person, and go right through the whole thing. And it shouldn't be that difficult to do because it's literally all laid out for us.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll send it when I get a chance. You
And
know,
maybe
like I
it's
say,
something
there's
that
tons
Chris-
of stuff to read here.
Chris could have, you know, how
Yes.
to do because there are some other, you know, processes with ADUs where you could be denied ADU, like if your septic system doesn't have
Absolutely,
the
that's
capacity
A big factor, yeah.
you know, to have that extra bedroom or so, you know, you may have to upgrade your you know, septic system to allow that to happen, because I know there was, you know, an ADU that was actually denied because it didn't have the infrastructure. So yeah.
Okay.
So, can
Okay.
we move on from this
Sorry about that.
to
All
the
right,
next?
so the other item, we had talked, did I put this in here? I'm sorry. you know, we had talked about the memberships, and,
The memberships of the Housing Commission.
commission, I know
And
we
they-
talked,
And they've recommended 6?
right,
Okay, I'm of a mindset that it should always be an odd number of people,
yes,
because if you have a vote and it's a tie, what do you do? I'm not sure that the chair of a commission gets to break the tie like they do at the Board of Selectmen level. So, I mean, it should be 7, it's my
It
suggestion.
should be.
And I would agree with that. I don't like the alternative, I don't think. that's-
yeah, I started, you know, when I started
Yeah.
thinking about, I think the alternates is, you know, not, I kind of backed
I
off.
wouldn't be happy to be an alternate.
No, right. But I think the idea of having 7 is important, because it also helps having a quorum, because if you have
Absolutely.
6, you have to have 4. If you
Yeah.
have 7, you have to have 4. So at least you have a better chance to have a quorum. So that my recommendation was to have that. And the other issue, and I thought I wrote this up, but there should be another power that talks about that our goal is to, the part of our responsibility is to implement, or to promote the strategies that we have in the affordable housing plan. And that's not spelled out in here. You know, we talk about research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options. But we don't refer our work back to the actual plan, and I feel like our strategies are really well laid out, and the duties of the commission should be to promote the implementation of the strategies in the affordable housing plan. Because it doesn't really link it back.
How would we promote that? In what way would we promote the affordable housing plan?
Like, we have like certain strategies, like for example, you know, to increase, you know, chattel mortgages on homeownership opportunities. How would we promote that? We'd get CHAFA to come in to do a seminar on how to get a CHAFA mortgage.
But isn't that supported by the general statement of?
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Yes.
don't think you need to,
Yeah.
I don't
The
think you need
general
to be.
statement of what?
Well, just promote, where is it?
Research
I mean, we
ways
could
to-
actually do
Yes.
it in B, it says research ways to
Yes.
create. We could cover that
It's-
point, if
it's-
you want to
it's-
put
it's
research
really
and
wide open.
recommend
It's
ways.
really
Yeah,
wide
but the
open.
research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options, we have created a whole strategy section on how to do that.
Yeah.
And so,
That's-
Is the word
But that's what
So-
I
the,
would
that's
say-
what
I
the
would also
commission
say
is
and
supposed to
recommend
do.
so what I'm saying is.
Not what the ordinance is supposed to do. The commission will do that. The ordinance is just to create the commission. Then the commission does all that. We'll do it all. We've been doing it as a committee. So it's just the ordinance to create the commission. And then once the commission is created, then all that will get done. And this is broad enough that it's all gonna fit under this.
I just feel that it needs to be linked into the affordable housing plan, that again, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options. We spent 2 years coming up with ways to create more diverse. We have a whole strategy section, and I just feel that the better sentence would be, is to, you know, because we do talk about like amending it from time to time, but the better sentence would be, since we already did that work very comprehensively, that we should work to implement the strategies that we have in the affordable housing plan.
What if you just said research ways to create and implement more diverse and affordable housing options? Wouldn't that do it?
You can suggest that.
Or,
I like
or
that.
Kathy, just,
Implement.
what about
Yeah.
just adding on, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options, utilizing,
Don't limit it.
some of the strategies, utilizing strategies that are,
They're not
In the
gonna
affordable
do it.
housing
Yeah.
plan.
They
Okay.
don't want us to do it.
Fine, that sounds good.
Just ways to do it, not implement.
Okay.
Because I do think we have to link our work back to the affordable housing
Okay.
plan.
So what are you putting in, Kathy?
utilizing strategies that are mentioned or promoted in our affordable, utilizing strategies
I don't
that
think
are,
it's
Well,
necessary,
let's-
but if you
But
really want
that's-
to do it,
If you're gonna say that, you're gonna say including but not limited to.
yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say simply, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options. See, I guess I'm still struggling with that sentence. 'Cause to me, it's two different things. One is research, like go beyond what you have in the plan. So to me, we have a whole strategy section of what we have in affordable housing plan of how we're going to create diverse and affordable housing. So I would like to say, implement strategies,
They're gonna
And-
let us in.
How are we
that's
gonna,
rather
what
broad. I mean,
strategy
we
are we
have
gonna
no-
implement?
Yeah, they're not gonna
Give
let
me an
us do
example
that.
of
Well,
a strategy
I
we're gonna
meant-
implement. Okay,
I was
'cause-
saying promote the implementation of the strategies in the affordable housing plan and research ways, additional ways to create more diverse and affordable housing. In case there's some strategy that we haven't thought about, but we have a pretty, if you read that strategy, it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, but this is not a document that's carved in stone. This is a document that's constantly being updated.
Yes.
So we can put that in there, but it goes without saying that the Affordable Housing Plan is a document that's going to be constantly revised. So we're going to be constantly doing researching ways to update this. So I think it says it. I think we should kind of move on.
I'm sorry, I feel that we have strategies in the affordable housing plan, and our responsibility is to promote the implementation of the affordable housing plan.
So it's research and promote the implementation.
No, I think it's a separate, because the research ways to create more, that's a separate action. So we already have established strategies in our affordable housing plan. Our job is to promote the implementation of those strategies in the affordable housing plan. And then we could.
Do you mean to exclude strategies that are not in the housing plan?
No, not at all. That's why this other sentence,
So
research.
why would you say that?
That would be a separate sentence.
This covers all of it. It covers the affordable housing plan, it covers senior housing, it covers market rate housing, it covers all the housing, right here, okay? It covers it all. By adding another sentence, you're gonna limit something.
So unless you say
No,
including but not limited to,
Yeah.
which, I mean, why would you do that?
It's not, we did a lot of work on the affordable housing plan.
Right, and do you think by not saying that, we were not gonna be able to not be able to continue to, you know?
To use the.
I
Use that?
feel it should be
Use the
recognized.
strategies, I mean, we will have the power to use the strategies.
No,
I don't understand.
the way I read this is like we're just gonna research ways to create more affordable housing. It's not recognizing the fact that we did research ways. We have created ways.
But that's the housing committee. That's not the housing commission. These are different entities, okay? This is a new commission. Are we gonna use all this information? Absolutely, if we're even on it. Maybe none of us will even be on it. But the new commission is gonna do this. The old committee did this. I don't think we need credit. I don't think we need to be recognized. I think that this is broad enough to cover what we need to do as a town in terms of housing.
I think if we start to use the word implement, it's gonna cause real problems, because nobody,
Well,
I'd be delighted to be able to implement things, but nobody's gonna give us that kind of power. How about if we just change the word research to recommend ways to create, because recommend would assume that we're researching as
again-
well.
Again, I want to recognize the fact that we have created an affordable housing plan that has a number of strategies that have already been identified.
Yes,
And-
and that's recognized in C where it says we could recommend changes to that plan, so the plan's already in there.
Mary, do you have any thoughts about this?
I find it difficult to do this kind of work over a phone.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Hard to see the whites of their eyes.
I can't necessarily follow the the arguments as precisely as I think I would like to be able to do.
Okay.
So I'm not going to take a position one way or the other. I take your point, Kathy. I understand what you're trying to say, but it follows from what I was saying before. But my ignorance, I admitted, about ordinances and how they're supposed to be written. But I would imagine this is written in as broad a way as possible that would cover practically every interpretation. So I don't think that it would be harmful to do it either way. So I'm going to stay out of this fight.
I'm going to make a recommendation that we propose to the Board of Selectmen that they increase the number of members of the Housing Commission to 7.
We have to choose, Jim is going back to law school days, but the other rule is you always choose your battles wisely. And that's not something we want to battle on implementing those words. I think it's broad enough that it covers what we want to do.
Yeah.
And let's save our arguments for something that's more important.
Well, okay. I will go with what the committee feels they want to go with, and if the only recommendation you want to make is changing it to 7, I mean, there was also the other recommendations from the Guilford Affordable Housing Commission that had ex officio members. Non-voting members of the commission, that included the town planner and a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I think it's important that the planning and zoning is embedded in the ordinance.
I really am struggling with that, especially today. Okay? Because if a town plan and zoning commission member is on the housing commission, and they're faced with an application that takes months to decide on TPZ, that limits what they can do with housing. And also hamstrings the housing commission.
Well, it's been a best practice in the state
I know,
recommendation.
and I believe that's inaccurate. I think it's wrong.
Well,
Okay, that's my opinion, and I think it's wrong. And the state makes mistakes just like every other entity. We all make mistakes. But today, we want to talk about Fountain Street, and we can't till we get to the end of the meeting, because you have to recuse yourself. And I get that. It's the right thing to do. But you can't have a housing commission where you have a member who's going to be consistently recusing himself because of other applications for TPZ.
I don't see myself in the position of constantly
I know.
recusing myself. I've been on this commission for a long time. This is the first time I'm recusing myself. So I think I've added a pretty good benefit to this committee.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on this commission. I'm just saying that maybe a person shouldn't be on both. Okay?
Although there are, Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, but at one of those SCROG meetings, there was more than one town where
Yes.
housing was actually embedded in town planning and zoning.
That would be different. That would be different. If this were part of a town plan and zoning's responsibilities, then it would be TPZ members doing this,
I
right?
think Kathy has been a great chairperson.
Absolutely.
And
But-
this is the only time she's had to recuse herself, so I don't have any problem with any of that.
Yeah, and again, there's been plenty of studies and best practices throughout, where planning and zoning is integral to how, it's
They
planning.
should work together.
It
They
is working-
should work
it's working
together,
together.
but working together is
And-
not the same as having people on the same boards.
Okay, but there,
Okay.
and there's an instance of an application, but that hardly happens on a frequent basis. So, the benefit of having planning and zoning involved in housing far outweighs a time where somebody might have to recuse themselves. And people recuse themselves all the time on planning and zoning.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
this is, to make a
So,
big.
so to move things along, you're going to propose that we have a town planner as ex officio and a TPZ member as also ex officio, or a TPZ member as a sitting member of the housing commission?
I think ex officio is fine. I think
So ex officio is different. They can't vote
right,
and they could leave. That's much different. I
Right.
have no problem with that.
right, that's
Let's
what
put that in there.
I am recommending that, and I think that would, it strikes a compromise between, you know, people's concerns with having planning and zoning. But I think by having somebody there that's there as somebody providing technical assistance, being a liaison, I think that is, and it's important, and I think it's important to embed that in there.
I understand ex officio, I understand it completely.
So those would be the two changes, and I think the Board of Selectmen would be happy with that as well. And was there anything else? Those were mine. So did people have? Did you have a chance to look at the ordinance, and did you have any recommendations?
Housing Commission? No.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So you're recommending that we change, recommending to the Board of Selectmen that they change the number of members to 7, and that they include the town planner and a TPZ member as both ex officio members of the Housing Commission.
Yes.
Those are the
On
two.
top of the 7.
On top of the
Yeah.
7. Yeah, they don't vote, so
Yeah,
they don't count.
They're not voting.
They don't count.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, an odd number makes sense. 5 is probably too few.
Very difficult. I have a 5-member board. It's very difficult.
And so,
Yeah.
and 6 is problematic because of the ties, and you
Yeah.
still need
Seven-
4 for
seven
quorum
makes
anyway,
sense.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. That
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay.
We have agreement.
All right, so I will write this up one more time. I mean, we just have those two changes. We're not going to talk about the fact that,
Do we need a motion for this?
yeah,
Those
we will need a motion
recommendations?
for it, but again, I was just looking at what I wrote what I wrote out. I found my notes. You know, the section B, research ways to create more diverse and affordable housing options. But if we review our plan, you find an exhaustive list of how to do that. But if you think that is reflective in this, the fact that acknowledges that we already have an exhaustive list of strategies to work from, again, when I looked at it, to me, it was, not to say it was insulting, it was just like, oh, research ways to create more diverse housing options. Well, we've done
Didn't we
that.
do that for 2 years?
We've done that, and we have an exhausting list.
But
But that's not
in the
saying.
end,
that-
it doesn't,
yeah.
it probably just doesn't
No.
matter in the end, because I think probably the broader this is, the better it is. It gives us more wiggle room, actually.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with the consensus of the group. So, do I have a motion to provide the recommendations on the ordinance for the Housing Commission, talking about extending the membership from 6 to 7 members, and to include as membership to serve as ex officio, non-voting members of the commission, the town planner, and a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So
The Town Plan and Zoning Commission, yes.
Move. I'll second that.
Okay, so we have, Mary, we have Lou approving, Jim seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye, that's good.
Okay.
6 is easy.
Debriefing on the I was gonna have a debriefing on the conservation meeting that we didn't have, but I know that Chris wanted to
No, I-
put this debriefing on the conservation housing event until you watch the
Yeah,
video on it, to see whether or not, was it David Hindu said something?
the implication in this summary that, I think you wrote the summary?
No, I didn't.
Who wrote the summary?
That was the facilitator.
Oh, okay, so the implication, the facilitator says, survey findings show that 14% of Connecticut land trusts are already active in the space of successful, it says successful housing conservation partnerships, and then it says they're already active in this space. But that's not what they said, and that was not the slide. The slide said about 14% of land trusts support affordable housing in some way.
Right.
And I think it's just unclear, and people were upset, because there's a lot of people who are on land trusts and park associations that support open space and also support affordable housing. So I just said it, I said my piece, let's move on.
All right. Does anybody want to talk about we talked about it briefly, the meeting, the roundtable discussion we had. That was a Zoom meeting with the Connecticut Land Conservation, I always get that, CL. Connecticut Land Conservation Council, CLCC. They had the roundtable discussion with David Hinden and Connie Maines, who's from Connecticut. I think she heads up the Kent Land Trust, and she was there, I think, in her capacity working with, I think, the Naugatuck Valley Conservation Council. So, did folks get a chance? Folks that weren't there, did you get a chance to watch the video? Chris, did you go back and watch the video?
I did watch some of it, yep.
I was there.
I was there, so, yeah.
Oh, you were there too, that's
Yep.
right, okay. No, I don't have anything to add to that.
Again, I thought it was I think we might have talked about this at the last meeting, right? I thought it was a good first step. And hopefully we will be able to get together and just start the conversation. Because I think there could be some interesting, my ultimate, goal would be, it'd be nice if we had a piece of land that could be a connecting factor to the Greenway, that'd be able to provide affordable housing on it at the same time. And because I think it's really important for people of all income levels to be able to enjoy the open space that Woodbridge has, and just not have it, secluded for just certain people, that everybody gets to enjoy it. And by creating, housing opportunities that is close by these, the Greenway or trails, it would just be a good thing for the community to create a sustainable community. So that's my messaging. And I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that. And even in terms of what you'd want to talk about when we do meet with conservation, is if there's any thoughts about what you'd want to say to the conservation committee.
wanna
Can
listen- I
I
wanna
ask a
listen to what they
question
have to
about
say.
the presentation itself?
Maybe more
Yes.
questions than.
Because, neither in the presentation, the video, nor outside of it, was there any possibility for a person watching later to know who was attending and what questions were asked. I was amused that the video chops off just when Scott Hunter is about to make a question.
I saw
I thought,
that.
oh dear. Well, there you are. Was he in our location?
Was what?
Asking a question from our, let me just back up, because I wasn't there, right? How did we do this? Did we have a in-person meeting?
So we had
Yeah.
a meeting, a in-person meeting at the cafe, and so we had people there, and we live streamed the roundtable discussion. We just kind of signed on to the Zoom, and we
Right.
played the the presentation. And you're able to ask questions in the chat, and a couple people did have a couple questions that I just ran up and entered the questions into the chat.
I see. Uh-huh.
And
Well, from our point of view, from thinking about what we do next and with whom, I think it's important to know which organizations in town are represented there and what the people from those organizations chat. The Conservation Commission, who they are. the Land Trust, Parks and Recreation, all those people. Do we have representatives from all of those?
Yeah, we did. We had I was really excited that both the land trusts were, the Park Association and the Woodbridge Land Trust were both represented there, so they got to hear the conversation, which I thought was positive. And Conservation was there as well. I have to say, in listening to Conservation, they were a bit critical of the conversation because they thought it was an infomercial.
There you go.
An infomercial?
Infomercial. I'm trying to say it right. For affordable housing, and I think it just kind of missed the point of what the discussion was. The discussion we're having a discussion because we have a critical shortage of affordable housing. And that's why we're having this discussion, because we need to figure out how to work together and not be working against each other. And I don't think the Conservation Committee was there yet in understanding the whole idea as to why we were having this conversation. So they did stress that this is a work in process, and that it takes a long, long time to build trust in having building a relationship where you can actually, work together. And they talked about, some goals, which I thought was interesting, of sharing, having somebody from Conservation to be on the Housing Committee, or having somebody from the Housing Committee be on Conservation, and just kind of cross-represent the committees so that both lenses are presented. And I think that would be, that would be a nice goal that we'd be able to get there. But I think there's still a lot of I think there's a lot more education that has to happen. And I think that's what we have to do with the Conservation Committee, is just to kind of hammer away and just try to get them to understand what we're trying to do with promoting the housing we need in Woodbridge. That's my goal. And to understand to better understand their views as well. I mean, because they have particular views. They don't want housing done. They'd rather have housing created on land that has already been developed. They don't want to take land that has not been developed and build housing or do development. I get that, and to the extent we could do that, I think that's a good goal. But it just gets to the point where we have to do something. We're in a crisis, so we have to kind of balance those two competing issues. So.
Well, not for the first time. One of the things that really struck me was the message at the beginning and accepted throughout that housing is a reputable thing to worry about, that it is something that even the conservation people need to acknowledge is a social need that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
And I am constantly aghast to see how many people in Woodbridge simply reject that notion.
Yes, right.
Reject it outright. I had a conversation with a Conservation Commission member, and I'm sorry I can't remember exactly how the conversation moved to this place. But I remember I was saying something that suggested that I was surprised that she was saying something that was critical of some aspect of housing. I'm sorry, I don't have the details. And she's, as an individual, why would you say something like that? And she said, well, I'm on conservation. Like, it was her job to criticize housing.
Yeah.
I thought, boy, we have a lot of work to do here.
We do.
Yeah. And it was refreshing to me to see those slides and have those people, that guy who was saying, forgive me, that guy, he's probably your closest friend. But anyway, to have him with that slide to say, do not oppose housing unless there is a critical conservation issue
Right.
associated with this bond. Do not do it on one developed land. He really he laid it all out in a very clear way. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder how that's going over in the room, or how it went over in the room. For sure, nobody remembers that slide. I'll bet you. They looked at it and went, oh my gosh, and immediately forgot it. So what we have to do is get back to that place if we can. But I don't know how you get to that place if people don't come halfway toward it. We all naturally want to defend conservation, open space, bunny rabbits. It goes naturally for everybody. And understanding how to balance that, and when you can balance that, it's a job. I acknowledge that. But we are so far from even being close to the middle of a conversation there. It's distressing.
Yeah. I thought what was interesting, what Connie Maines had talked about, that, finding the common ground, that in fact, conservation and affordable housing, they do share common ground in both addressing land uses that the private market, fails to, often neglects, both for stewarding land for long term,
Right.
and sustaining, creating affordable housing for people that need it, because the private market is not going to do either of those, and so that is kind of like a common interest, that we're and I know like Sharon DeCant talks about, well, the land doesn't speak, the land doesn't have a voice, and neither does people that are in need of housing. I mean, certainly, and that's the point I was trying to make in the public comment. People that are most in need of the housing, that would be most in need of the a housing, an apartment, are not coming out to speak and say, hey, I need that, I have needs, I have housing needs. These are people that that are not going to be coming out and making a public comment on that, or people that would like to be part of the community. Again, people that work in the community and like to be part of the community. They're not going to be people that are going to come to a public comment and say, hey, it would be really great if you built this apartment, because then I'd have the opportunity to be able to live and work in Woodbridge, and that would be a really cool thing. That's just not going to happen. So, we may have like a common themes like that we could talk about. Anyway.
I'm gonna tell you all the story right now. Mary, I'm gonna tell you a story.
Be getting people to the table, both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. Around 2005, when Woodbridge Village proposed to build 146 units on Bradley Road and 10 or 20,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space on farmland that had been farmland since the beginning of history. The developers had a meeting with the neighbors in the little church on Litchfield Turnpike. And the neighbors were very upset about this. Very upset, because there'd been farmland for generations and it had always been farmland. That's all people remembered. And the developer sat there and listened and listened and listened. And it took 2 years or more. And when that project went to TPZ for its final approval, the neighborhood was there and supported it, because the developer just listened and made modifications and explained things, and that's how they got it done, by communicating with the people. And that's how that project got through. Unfortunately, the housing market crashed and it didn't get built, but that led us to where Toll Brothers is today. But without the developer understanding that the neighborhood has to have a say, and if you get your neighborhood behind you, you can get something accomplished. If you don't get your neighborhood behind you, you're going to have a really, really tough road to hoe. You're not going to make it up that hill without your neighborhood behind you. And I learned that watching that, and I was on the Board of Selectmen, and then I was on TPZ and watched that whole process play out, and it was very, very interesting how they did it. They took their time, they were patient, and they worked with people and listened to people. They modified things as people had issues and comments and questions and explained everything, and it was a brilliant way to do it. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out for them, but
Yeah.
it's a way for us to recognize that we shouldn't go to conservation, we shouldn't have conservation come here and tell them anything. I want to know what they think. I want to hear them. I want to hear their comments. I want to listen to what they have to say. And they should want to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah, I do think it's a two-way street, so I.
But it has to be a two-way street. And we have to recognize also that while the streets are here right now, well apart, they need to be here at some point, in the middle. We're not dragging one side to the other. It's got to be somewhere in the middle. That's all I got to say about that.
Well said.
Thank you.
Good.
Can we scratch community conversations because Lou and I haven't had a.
Okay, that's
much
fine. I wasn't, I just
One day I would
keep
like to
that,
talk about that, though.
I just keep that on the agenda because I wasn't sure whether or not you had any more community conversations. So, I just did want to mention Woodbridge Like Me Day is coming up.
October
and
4th.
October 4th, and I hope folks could sign up, and I appreciate people that are able to make it on that day. I don't know, does that fall on your holidays?
No, it's the
No.
first, is the evening of the first is Yom Kippur and
Okay.
into the second, so.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
It's
Yeah.
definitely afterwards. I would
Well,
make it
no,
without
Sukkot,
that.
Sukkot is
Yeah, we'll
is the
find,
5th.
we'll find.
You're
So
fine,
yeah, we're
okay.
fine.
I know, because sometimes it does, and then it does make it
Yeah,
difficult
no,
for
it
people.
doesn't, but I could commit to like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, it's 11 to 2, so it seems, I think it's shorter this year, so.
I think so,
Yeah,
too.
so if people could show up for an hour or so. And I'm just wondering if, I kind of have the same display year after year. I don't know if there's something else you'd want to highlight or display or, talk about.
Think about it.
We could think about it, give me some ideas. We do have a meeting before that, but, if we have to prepare anything or, I probably would need to,
Do we?
No,
Well-
we don't have a meeting before that.
Do we have, I don't think we do.
No.
We can't meet on the 1st.
Yep.
oh, that's right, we did
Yeah.
change that. You're right. It's the week after. I was just looking at the first, yep, we changed that. Okay, then I will just send out, is there any immediate thoughts about what we
Well,
might want?
definitely the ADU thing.
Yeah, I still have all my flyers, so
I know. That came up in some of the public comment at the BOC meeting, and indeed, one of the selectmen seemed to be misinformed.
yeah, she was
So
very
I think we
misinformed.
need to look at that and maybe add to what we already have.
Yeah, maybe we could just put the new regulations for ADUs. Maybe we'll have a little bit more information and we'll just kind of post it up. We'll have or maybe have a bigger poster, and then have the regulations so people know. Or I don't know if Chris, if that's something.
I will not have time to do that
Okay.
before October 4th. There's just not a chance.
Did we have photographs or anything of some of the nicer, projects like the one in Orange or in Oxford or something?
Yeah, I have the whole.
Can we use
Yeah.
those?
Yeah.
Put
Well,
that up there.
I do. I mean, I do have the big poster board that we put together that has Lascana and.
Can we, that's something I think maybe we should have displayed, as opposed to, brutalism and penitentiary architecture. Just saying. I think it'd be nice for people to see it, It
Yeah,
doesn't
I-
have to be a,
Well, we always had the poster. We had the poster for the past 2
We've
years.
used it, I think, at every.
Yeah.
was it up at the Woodbridge Like Me?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. And in fact, I try to
Government.
keep it in this room so people could see the different housing
Okay.
options, but then I took it and they threw it in the closet and I
Oh.
had to go find it, but,
Okay.
yeah, it has some really nice, has the Madison development, it has the Lascana, it has, I think one in New Canaan. They have some really nice developments. And I think New Canaan's 4 stories as well. But there's some nice developments on there. There's about, 8 different developments on there. It's kind of a collage of different housing. Okay, so next steps for informational sessions, we want to work on,
You can invite the Conservation Commission to our next meeting.
we're gonna invite the Conservation Commission to the next meeting. In
How many
terms,
members are there on that committee?
what's that?
How many members are on the Conservation Committee?
I don't know. 6 or 7?
Oh, I had it up here just a second ago. I was looking.
They have 2
for-
chairs.
There's quite a few of them, actually.
Yeah. So we'll invite them. And see what they say. Hopefully they'll agree, or maybe they'll invite us back to their meeting. I mean, this just kind of worked out. It was funny, this actually worked out, because I had erroneously had on my calendar, we voted on in January, I had Wednesday, September 4th. And they picked up the September 4th. And that's why, and it's just like, no, it's Wednesday. And I had the wrong day, and nobody picked that up. So next time you review calendars, make sure I get my days right.
Okay.
Because I could make mistakes.
So they have 7 people on
Conservation
their
has 7
commission,
Seven.
and they have
slots,
1
one of them
vacancy,
vacant.
just like most commissions.
Okay,
They have a vacancy.
okay. All right, so I think that would be, and maybe I'll reach out to see if there's anything particular they want us to cover.
Yeah, we need to, think about how that's gonna go. Is it,
Yeah,
Ask
Yeah.
them, what
Yeah.
would they like us,
Yeah.
what would they like to talk about?
What do they
you
wanna talk
know?
yeah. All right, so with that, I am going to pack my bags.
No, wait a minute, I thought we were gonna talk about Mount Street.
Oh, wait a second, Kathy.
Yeah, but I have to leave.
See ya.
Another piece of old business. Can we do old business? Just a question or two about the POCD.
Yes, go ahead.
Has anybody from our committee looked through the whole thing to see if there's any relevant information that needs correction? Specifically relevant to the Housing Commission? I noticed, I haven't read through the whole thing, but I did notice, I don't see it here. Wait a second, in my notes, it's in my notes. They were making reference to a document that I think they got the wrong name on it. And I know it was the district. Hold on.
Oh, Affordable Housing District, yeah, I think you mentioned
It's
that.
here.
But there is, and
It was just factual, the Affordable Housing District they referred to. I thought, what?
yeah,
What are they talking
I'd have to go back to see how that was represented. The issue we had with planning and zoning was we originally decided to take out that section, that Affordable Housing District section, because we felt the opportunity housing regulation, the new regulation that came in as a result of the change they did in 2021, that was an outcome from the Open Communities Alliance application. We thought that made the Affordable Housing District obsolete. When in fact there were some other options in there that were not contemplated in the opportunity housing. So at the last minute, the attorney said that we needed to keep both provisions in.
But if somebody wanted to know what the Affordable Housing District regulations are, where would they look?
They would look in the zoning regulations.
I wasn't aware that we even had any. Okay, well, I just obviously going to have to
I'll look at it to see whether or not it,
inform myself better.
yeah, I'll look to see if it makes it clear that the affordable housing district that they're talking about is a concept that's referred to in the zoning regulations. But that is a section in the zoning regulations.
Okay, well, my question is still, did anybody actually look at the POCD just to check everything deliberately? I mean, I presume,
Well,
are we expected to do that? Or
I think it's a good idea for folks to do that. And I know it's a long document. I, of course, have been through that a couple times.
Oh,
So,
if it jump out at you, I'm sure it's fine.
yeah,
No, I think you've got to revise the affordable housing to talk about the fact that deed restricted affordable housing is what counts as affordable housing. And that's not in there, in this section titled affordable housing. That needs to be, this is from the Plan of Conservation Development.
yeah.
That needs to be addressed,
So, I guess the question is,
but that's one thing.
does the committee want to go through that and make some recommendations
Yeah.
to planning and zoning, or do people want to individually do that as, because there's other, like you, I know, Mary, you have, and it was brought up, I think, at the Board of Selectmen's public hearing for the POCD, that there was a lot of inaccuracies around the historic references.
Right, that's true.
So you may have, and I don't know if 30, I don't know if your stuff was represented. in
I haven't
there.
had a chance to look through the whole
Yeah,
thing yet, to be
so,
honest. It's on my list.
So I guess the question is, do we want to make recommendations as a committee? Or do we want to just do our go through and do our individual, since you may be on other committees?
Why don't we look at it between now and the next meeting, which you said is October, what date?
It's gonna be the 8th.
8th, October
Yeah, 'cause
8th.
It was gonna be on
Right.
And
the
then we
first
can
meeting.
put it on the agenda for this meeting, and we can discuss it.
Okay,
And
that,
go
that,
from there.
that works, actually, because the public
Yeah, it's gonna be
hearing
pushed off.
won't be till October 15th anyway. All right, so that works.
Okay, so if anybody sees anything, they should bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, and then we could compile it and make recommendations. Okay?
Good, that's all.
Okay. So with that, do I need to
And a lot of votes.
appoint, Mary's the vice chair, but since,
I was gonna say, how do we end our meeting if you're not here?
Mary's the
Do we
vice
have to-
chair, but is that your phone?
yeah. So
All right, I
that,
would now call this meeting to order.
so that could be a problem. Does anybody want to
Volunteer.
volunteer to either could someone call Mary?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's her name?
Okay, Mary, I'm going to hang up and Jim's going to call you.
Okay, right, oh my
What-
gosh.
what's-
All right, bye-bye.
What's the number?
Okay.
Her number is
I know
203.
we're not gonna talk to him. I gotta go get
Oh.
dinner. I haven't been home yet. I went from work to here.
Sorry.
Yeah, just tell them
Just,
I can make it easy. I can make a couple of general comments, then I can leave. And if I leave and Kathy leaves, then we don't have a quorum. You can't continue.
Hartford, huh?
No, I'm not gonna do that. Everybody should be able to say what they want to say.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right, thanks,
thank you.
Kathy.
Now we can plan a surprise party for you.
Yeah, I should get kicked off the housing commission. All right, guys.
All
Good
right.
seeing everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night. See you, Bob.
Want to start, Chris?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I was at the meeting Tuesday night. I mean, I've said it before, at this various meetings, this is such a divisive issue. This has become so divisive. And I said what I said about the Woodbridge Village project because this is the complete opposite of that. There's been no outreach to the community to try to get the community behind this project. It's been, and I sat there and I'm in the back and I'm listening to the attorneys battle with each other. I'm like, this is not a good way to go. You have an attorney threatening to sue if this doesn't, it just doesn't, it sits so poorly with me. It represents our town so poorly. I really get it upset. It upsets my stomach to sit there. And I made sure I stayed the whole time because the last time I didn't stay the whole time. I want to hear the comments and it's really upsetting. I don't think this is necessary for our town to go through this. There's got to be a better way to come up with affordable housing than that.
Which meeting was it, Chris?
This was the Board of Selectmen, Town Plan and Zoning Commission. public comments on 804
We're
Fountain
going
Street.
804 Fountain Street.
And it's,
It's terribly
Our-
divisive.
hour plus, of public comment, and, it's,
It is a bad example for the first one to go through. It's ugly. I mean, we could say that. I could say it's ugly, and it is divisive. And it's really the reason why we should be pushing that the town has to do something. Because if the town doesn't do something here, we're gonna wind up with projects like that. We shouldn't, that's not the project we should be going for,
a
but
year ago, when I first came on this board, we talked about mixed use, and I said, yes, I own property in the flats, and it would actually benefit if it became mixed use, but at this point, I don't care. I'm gonna say, why is town plan and zoning not making the business district mixed use? That is the low-hanging fruit. That's where you're gonna get your affordable housing, because you already have the structures built. The reality is, the reason why 804 Fountain Street is 96 units and 12 affordable is because it's so expensive to build new construction. You can't do this affordably. I gotta tell you, I didn't know about this affordable housing project in Orange, Lascana or whatever it is, but I wanna go look at it, and I wanna find out, how did they do that?
It's beautiful. I
Well,
have looked at it. It's beautiful.
But that's not being proposed for Woodbridge. What we're getting is essentially, we're getting a market rate, massive structure, which isn't gonna benefit anybody. Okay, it's not gonna benefit, it's gonna cost us a lot of money. But worse than that, it's divided our town so terribly. I wish that TPZ would recognize that make the business district mixed use. This enhances the businesses, and it also makes individual opportunities to do affordable housing in smaller ways. And we've got to focus on ADUs, and I'm going to send that out to everybody, but we've had so much other stuff going on, I think that's something we should focus on.
Chris,
But that's all I got to say.
I wasn't, forgive me, I wasn't at the meeting. Was there much in the way of public support for the project?
There was one person who spoke, and he said he had been in town for 1 year, and he was really upset that so many people were opposed to children. I don't think he understands the context. He said he's got a son who's at the school, at Beecher School. The context is, if we build these projects, there's no more space at Beecher School for kids. It's really getting close to its max. And this is something that needs to be considered. And I feel like it hasn't been considered. But we can't just whip up a building tomorrow. What we would end up doing is literally putting portable trailers for classrooms over there, which is really not a quality educational environment. It really isn't. That was the one person, and I was there.
So I mean, it's funny because it's not a divisive issue in the sense that there are people in the townspeople who are very supportive of it and people who are not very supportive of it, and you've got that clash. It sounds like you've got like a groundswell of opposition to the project and a developer who really wants to sort of shove it. I mean, you hate to say shove it down people's throats, but
and if we don't get a moratorium, they will shove it down. our
Well, this
throats.
has nothing to
No,
do
I'm
with
not sure about that, by the
No,
way.
you need to be 30% affordable.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be 30% affordable for that to kick in.
Yeah,
This is 11 or 12%
But I
affordable.
think it was 12%.
Yeah, so it doesn't even apply. 830G doesn't apply to this.
No, but I'm saying if we don't do something on our own, this is not gonna go through.
Correct. It's not.
I mean, we spent a lot of time at these meetings and issuing the original report of showing how affordable housing doesn't have to be a project, doesn't have to make it
Correct.
look like something that belongs in New York City. And this is the first example.
This is the
of
first
putting out-
thing.
yeah,
I mean, this is
and
exactly the opposite of what
It defeats everything we've
we
done
should
to
be
this.
trying to build for affordable
Yeah.
housing,
yeah. So,
I look around my neighborhood in the flats, and there's a lot of two-family houses, there's also a lot of one-family houses, but there's a lot of opportunity, but it's constrained because of traffic. But there is still opportunity. There's opportunity. There's also, like, the ADUs, maybe I'm hung up on this, but how can we do that? You wanna make conservation people on our side? Well, let's not tear up the green space. Let's build it over your garage. Let's build it in your spare bedroom. Let's find a way to do it in your existing footprint,
Yeah.
which is not as expensive as building new. So,
yeah, I think that I wouldn't exclude using exclusive. I wouldn't say we should use exclusively ADUs. We will never
No.
get where we need to get to.
correct.
So I think we're trying to do this in sort of a holistic way and do it in lots of different, to try as much as we
Yeah.
can. And it's going to require probably some open space. Okay, it's going to, I think that's, let's be
I think
realistic.
about the town, and I think about space that's underutilized. We got some space that's underutilized that we could do
That-
something
I
with.
don't disagree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Certainly there should be, that is sort of the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
We should, but that
But
we should
to
be
me,
looking at that.
that should be what we're doing first. Okay, what is the easiest way to get some affordable housing in Woodbridge? It's mixed use and accessory dwelling units. That's the easiest way to do it. And then once we get that into the town, people are gonna say, oh, this is not what I expected. Everybody's the same. Everybody's the same.
So who do we need to, who do we need to get on board with that, apart from us? How do we articulate that in a way that moves people to action?
The mixed use
Yeah.
is TPZ. TPZ's gotta act on it, you
Okay.
know? I don't feel comfortable, and I was told, when I bought my building 3 years ago, I was told, you should go to TPZ and make an application for your building to be changed to mixed use, change the zone to mixed use. So I don't really feel comfortable with that. I'm on lots of boards and commissions. I don't really want to build apartments at this point. I have enough going on. I don't need to add. I've got 2 good tenants upstairs. Hopefully they'll stay a while. But somebody should be doing this. There's so much opportunity down there. I think for affordable housing for seniors, for young people coming into town, for 1-bedroom units, for studio units, that it might add some traffic, but not a lot of traffic. And the key is not adding a lot of traffic. It is, and what I'm doing with 2030 is trying to manage the neighborhood to make it more walkable for people, pedestrian friendly, slow the traffic down and make it safer. This is all kind of tying in. But TPZ's got to step up and really got to look at, that should be their prime objective. How do we look at the flats, look at the business district, and make that more attractive, make it more, bring in more tax revenue? How can we do that? This is a way to do it with mixed use.
So, talking about Fountain Street, I was very upset about the way this has all come down. Here we are, we've made a big effort in the affordable housing plan and in our presentations to talk about affordable housing as something that can fit in with the community, that can add to the community, that cannot threaten the community. And we've got nothing but pushback from people.
Because, Mary, that's not an affordable housing
A classic
project.
example is the Country Club of Woodbridge. If they had embraced, and I don't say that I would have expected them to do so, but should they have embraced the idea in 2022 to designate some of that property and let us get going to finding the funding and finding the good developer and so forth to make that 100% affordable, we would be in a much better position to say this is what affordable housing is. Right now, the only thing that everybody is looking at, and I think a lot of them are talking about it as an affordable housing projct, which it is not.
Which it
It's not.
It is not.
That's the big problem.
Absolutely is
It's not. It doesn't
The
help
only-
us at all.
The only silver lining I've been able to discern, and I am a very optimistic person, so maybe I'm kidding myself, but I hear over and over again people now saying what they want in the way of affordable housing, which is what we have been advocating this whole time. So if we could just get past Fountain Street one way or the other, I'm hopeful that we'll have an easier time of selling small, low-scale duplexes, quadplexes, and that sort of thing as an affordable housing community that people can tolerate.
And it is ironic.
Right now, it doesn't look good.
Elaine?
Go ahead, Elaine.
No, I was thinking along the same lines, Mary, that it is so ironic that a part of what we did with that plan was envision units like, you all have to go see this orange development. It is really quite lovely. and it blends. And it was the kind of thing we were envisioning for the country club, because we had 155 acres and wanted to use, what,
40.
30, 40
40.
acres?
Yeah.
And it's come full circle in a very bad way, in a very bad way.
And the
I wouldn't
irony is
wish
gonna
this
be-
on anybody, much less the housing committee.
Right. The irony is gonna be.
I keep thinking I should listen to the program, the TPZ meeting, where they made the decision to change the zoning in order to do what was necessary to facilitate that project. I don't know what the reason was, except for the fact that obviously we need affordable housing. No one has come forward in 3 years to offer us any or a place to put it, and so they might have just felt
So they tried to take
they
advantage
didn't
of
have
I
a
it.
think that's
choice.
exactly what
Yeah.
happened, you
Yeah.
know, because they were,
Let's give it a shot
Yep.
and try to do this, and it's unfortunate.
I mean, the common ground that everybody on this issue agrees is that we don't want big monstrosities that are out of place for our community.
Yep.
And here the irony is that we're going to be, they're setting this up
Yeah.
as
Oh,
a,
in
you know, and
spades.
our argument should
Wow.
be, we want to avoid a situation like they have in Bethel. I sent everybody a copy of an
Yes.
article on that. Where,
Yeah, that was
where a company
really
like
interesting.
Vessel comes in and wants to set up there, it was a 5-story building,
Yep.
and that was our best argument for getting something done on a scale that we control in the town.
I don't know whether it works better when you have a situation like that, or the ones that were described in the Post article, that you say yes, but you try to work with the developer and acknowledge that they have certain rights. I mean, you've changed your regulations, and now I don't know whether we could change our regulations back at this point. I don't even know if that's a possibility, is it? Can we pull the rug out from underneath them at this point?
Not at this point, because they filed an application, so.
I
it's on
don't think
But
we
that's,
can.
that's not,
So why
This
are
is
we
gonna- this is
beating
gonna
up
have
on
to
them
run its
instead of
course.
trying to make it work at the best way we can? I don't understand that either.
but if, as being on the Affordable Housing Committee, it doesn't make us look good. This project doesn't make us look good.
No.
This is gonna hurt our ability to build more affordable housing in town, and that's the opposite of what we need. The opposite.
Well,
you
do
know.
you
Well,
think
and we
it would
certainly don't
help?
want to, we don't want to say, we didn't do this, we wouldn't have done this, we don't agree with this. I mean, as individuals, we may feel that way a lot, but
Well,
as a
wait a minute.
committee, we can't say that.
Wait a minute. Why can't we say that this? I mean, maybe it's not our place for. Why can't we say that this isn't exactly what we envisioned, or that we would necessarily
Oh.
endorse?
Well, that's simply a statement of fact. But I was saying, as the committee can't say, we condemn this project, I think that would make enemies of the TPC, and I don't want to do that.
It probably would, and it probably would even do that, I'm wondering if we could say, take a look at our original plan, you'll see nothing like this development we've submitted a lot of pictures in that, nothing looks like this.
Oh, the other problem is that some people are blaming, as you know, blaming Kathy specifically,
I feel bad about
personally, individually for all of this. Well, that's just wacko, because she's only one person. Even if she did vote. She's only one vote. She didn't make this happen.
I think we need to focus on what we can control and what we think is best for Woodbridge, and just stay away from Fountain Street entirely. And just focus on smaller developments. Look around for places for smaller developments. We should look at this development in Orange, and is there a way to do something like this on a smaller scale in Woodbridge?
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
would make
I think
the
that's
CCW look good to more than us.
I think that makes a great deal of sense. But you also said, Chris, that this is going to, I don't know who you meant by the you, but this is going to reflect badly on us.
It could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, it's going to reflect badly on us when, in fact, this is not something that we had in mind, so why shouldn't we make it clear that this is not the kind of project that we envisioned or endorsed or had in mind? I mean, I don't want people to think that, you know, this committee is just, you know, hell-bent for building whatever the hell we can build when we can build it, because it's not.
Okay.
I mean, my sense is that I'm not so sure staying away from it is consistent with trying to, you know, trying to express, you know, kind of where we're coming from. You know.
Well, maybe this is why, I mean, we got asked that, why didn't we say anything? Well, maybe the answer is, this is why we need a commission now, because we were never asked, we weren't involved, but, you know, maybe as a commission, we can make recommendations, and, you know, we did make recommendations, I realize that, but, I don't know. It does reflect badly on us.
Well, it doesn't make me feel good to be able to say I told you so.
No. Do y'all mind if I leave? I gotta go
Yeah,
get some.
I
food.
think everybody, I think
we
it's
all
about
need
time to adjourn this.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, as the vice chair, I'm taking an adjournment,
Motion to
I
adjourn by
vote- I-
Chris
what's
and-
the word I want?
Jim.
Chris has made a motion to adjourn, which has been seconded by Jim.
And we all vote
Okay.
in favor
And
of
we
it.
all-
I'll make the
you.
motion. Somebody second it
Well, I'll second.
on the
We're
way out
done
the
being
door.
recorded?